Welcome everyone to the School Improvement Council video prompt for the discussion on intervention kickoff. My name is Sue Reynolds and I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. So we want to welcome all the council members that are watching this video and thank you for participating on your school's School Improvement Council. We know that you're doing that because you care about kids and you care about education, and we're really excited about involving you in the discussion of school improvement along with your teachers and your students. So really pleased to have all the council members, the community members, the teachers, everyone who's serving as part of your School Improvement Council with us today. So first of all, let's just look at very quickly what is the role of a council member. So your role is basically to do three things: to care about your community's young people, which I assume that you do or you probably wouldn't be on the council, and then you'll review student and school data that will be presented to you by your steering team and as part of these videos. And then you'll provide input from your perspective. So we've asked your steering team to create quite a broad-based group of people to serve on your council. We know that there's business people, there's teachers, there's maybe your community foundation, maybe your mental health association, local government, economic development, your mayor's office. So we've got quite a wide variety of people. And among your parents, we have parents of maybe 6th graders and 7th graders or 3rd graders or 12th graders. So quite a diverse group of parents as well. And then also with your teachers, every teacher in the building is part of the council. So we know we have a large group and a very diverse group of opinions. So your job on the council is to represent your perspective. So if you are a Hispanic parent, it would be your job to represent the Hispanic parent view. If you are a parent of a student who's going to go on to an apprenticeship program after high school, then you would be representing that view on your council. So, okay, so you'll be providing input from your perspective. And then this semester, our focus is going to be on implementing the current school improvement plan. And then second semester, you'll be involved in creating next year's school improvement plan. So, okay, so that's your role kind of in a nutshell. So let's look at this year. Actually, let's start by seeing where we're coming into this year. Let's look at last year for a minute. So we know that your school right now has a school improvement plan that's going to direct your activities in this school year. And just a reminder or just a heads up on how that school improvement plan was developed. We asked your School Improvement Council last year, or those that were involved in writing your school improvement plan last year, what is our idealistic dreams for students and schools, and then that became the vision statement that's in your improvement plan. We asked, where do we want achievement to be a year from now? That became the SMART goals in your school improvement plan. We asked, what is getting in the way of our achievement goals, of your achievement goals? That became the root causes in your improvement plan. And then we said, okay, so what can we do to alleviate these things that are getting in the way, these root causes? And that became the interventions in your school improvement plan. So you have right now a school improvement plan that has the main components of which are those four things: vision, goals, root causes, and interventions. You also have an intervention preparation plan. So your steering team last year said, okay, for these interventions, are we going to need professional development? And if so, what's that going to look like? Are we going to want to study data around that intervention? And if so, you know, let's get our baseline data. Are we going to need resources? Are we going to need money to implement these interventions? And so there's a plan in place to get all the things you need to make sure that your interventions are wildly successful. So basically, the bottom line is that the school improvement plan that was written last year now needs to be implemented fully and with integrity. Because if that school improvement plan just sits on the shelf, it was a waste of time. Or if that school improvement plan gets implemented by some teachers but not all teachers, or if it gets implemented by teachers or parents, and it's a half-hearted implementation, it's not going to have the impact that we want it to have. So your job first semester as a council and as a steering team is to make sure that these interventions hit the ground running and that they're done really well. Okay, so that this year, that's what we're going to do this semester. In October this year, the very first discussion we're going to have, which is what we're doing right now, is we're going to ask you in a minute, what can we each do, what can you each do to support each intervention's implementation? What can you personally do? So you may be a parent, you may be the Chamber of Commerce person, you may be from your public library, you may be, the kindergarten teacher. So, but we want you to think about, for each of your interventions, what can you do to make sure that that intervention gets into place and it's going to be implemented well. And it might be, if it's a math intervention, it might be if you're the math teacher, you're going to say, I'm going to teach this stuff. But if you're a parent, it might be that you're going to ask your child, have they taught this yet? We know it's coming. So, so there, there's just all kinds of things that you can do. If you're a business, you might be looking at where can I help the teacher to see real-world applications for that academic content that they're trying to teach. So we want you to each think about, what can I do, what can we do to help really support the successful implementation of this intervention. Then we'll spend all semester implementing. Then in December we're going to meet with you again, and the question that time will be, what evidence do you see that indicate that the intervention is having the desired impact on the adult practices? Remember, all of our interventions are designed to impact adult practices. We think that we have to change adults before students will change. So what evidence do we have that the adults are implementing the intervention then, and that it's being implemented well and fully? So, and what evidence do we see that the adults are changing, based on, that'll be different based on whatever the intervention is. So we'll do that in December. We're going to evaluate your interventions and then make some in-flight adjustments if we need to. Okay, then second semester, we'll start writing your school improvement plan for next year. So in January, the question is going to be, based on what we know now, do we need to update our goals? So we'll bring in new updated student achievement data, and then we're going to just say, do we need to change our goals in our school improvement plan, or is this still good and we can just keep what we have? If you reach a goal, we might decide to dump it and not do that goal anymore. Or if you exceeded a goal and now you want to set the target higher, you might just tweak your goals. So, but it's always the question is, based on what we know now, what should that look like in our school improvement plan for next year? In February, same thing. Based on what we know now, do we need to update our root causes, the things that are interfering with reaching your goals? And then in March, based on what we know now, do we need to update our interventions? So, and again, that's looking at your interventions and omitting some or adding new ones or tweaking the ones we have. So, okay, so that's the kind of the overview of the year. It's going to be 5 discussions with you as council members. Your steering team will invite you to meetings, and then they'll toss out the inquiry questions. They'll give you data to look at, sometimes ahead of the meetings, and then you'll all get together and just chat about what the answers to those questions are. Okay, so that's the year in a nutshell. So today, here's what we want to do. So we want to discuss the question that we mentioned earlier, what is each council member going to do to support the successful implementation of each intervention? So as I mentioned before, there's 2 ways to have this discussion. Some of you are probably sitting right now in a room face-to-face with all the council members, and you're getting ready to have that discussion face-to-face. So that's great. That's going to go well. The benefit of that is that you get to hear what everybody else has to say, and that really fosters creativity and thinking outside of the box and collaboration, and there's just a lot of benefit of having those face-to-face conversations. In some schools, for a variety of reasons, face-to-face discussions are not possible. And in those schools, if you are in one of those schools, your steering team has sent you a link, and you're actually have opened this presentation up in a website. And what you're going to do is type your responses into a text box. So if you are just having the discussion online, again, if you're a council member in one of those schools, your council sent you an email, you clicked on the link in the email, you opened this page. So again, if you are in one of those schools that's only doing online input, or if you're in doing in-person discussion, here's what that email looked like that you got. So the system, our SI2 system, sent you an email, and it said, okay, we're getting ready for our intervention kickoff in the email. It said, we are going to have an in-person meeting. Here's the date and the time and all of that. So, or if you were not having an in-person meeting, this was left out of the email, and it just went down here, online input, and you just clicked this link to take you to the place where you could put your input about the inquiry question. Okay, now if you are having your meeting face-to-face, we also gave you access to this online input, because if you're having face-to-face meetings but one month you're unable to come, you have a conflict, then we still want you to go to this online input as an absent member of the face-to-face in-person meeting. Still go to this online input, click that, and then enter your thoughts. That way your steering team not only knows what the people at your meeting talked about, but they know what how the absent people feel about the inquiry question. Okay, so that's how that works. If you are doing this online, so when you click that link, this is the page that you came to, and basically it said watch the council video. Here's where you click to do it on our YouTube channel. Then it said review this report, and there's a link to the report, and then answer the questions below the video, and you would just go down here and answer them. Okay, so when you click this report, just a heads up, it looked like this. This was just a list of all of your school's interventions, and so what you need to do is just go through each one individually and say, how can I help with the attendance and discipline policy? And then, read that and think, how can I help? And then type that in here. How can I help with chunking research papers or projects? So, and maybe there's not a way that you can help with some of these, but look at each one, and even if it's as a parent, all you're going to do is, not all you're going to do is very important. You're going to talk to your child about it. That's really important to, that's a really important support for the intervention. And if you're a business, really start to think out of the box. One of my favorite interventions from a business was from a pizza shop that, well, I don't remember what the intervention was, but what the pizza shop did right before the intervention was going to be implemented, they wrote on the outside of all their pizza boxes something about that intervention, and they were delivering it, to kids in the community or families in the community with a note about the intervention written on the pizza box. So, we're really trying to look at how do we make this systemic change. So as a business, what can you do to support each one of these interventions? So, okay, so after today, after the steering team has all of that input, then they will, and everybody will be implementing all the things they said they were going to do to support those interventions. And then in December, the council, you guys, will reconvene. You'll study follow-up data that will help you determine the degree to which the intervention was implemented and the impact of the intervention on the targeted adult practice. So we'll look at all of that in December. That means that you have between now and December to make sure that those interventions just really hit the ground running and that they're implemented fully and with integrity. It's not just lip service, but we're actually rolling up our sleeves and we're getting it done. And then also in December, you, the council members, will make recommendations regarding in-flight adjustments to the interventions as they go on through the rest of the school year. Okay, and that's it. So I want to thank you as council members. If you're listening to this in person, what you'll need to do now is this will be the end of the video, and then you'll need to discuss each of your interventions and talk about who's going to do what. And then if you're doing this on the input page online, you would just go to that input page, look at each of the interventions, and then type into that box what you can do to support that intervention. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll close the council meeting now.